said that the super bonus started before Mr. Draghi became our prime minister. And it was a measure that was meant to be only for a short amount of time with a specific purpose, which was to restart the Italian economy, which it did because in 2021, Italian GDP grew by 6.7% and surpassed GDP in all other European countries. And it was primarily driven by the resurgence of the construction sector through the Superbonus measure. However, it was never meant to be a long-term measure, and it probably should have been designed with more checks and balances in place, given that it basically had no barriers to entry. And as you rightly said, it paid 110% to people. So the people doing the super bonus, because it was designed to also allow them to pay banks to purchase the credits off of them. Now, there's nothing wrong with incentivizing energy efficiency, but in hindsight, it should have probably been designed with more stringent limitations on who could access this full 110% discount. Maybe that should have been given to the less wealthy, let's say less wealthy people in society. And also there were no barriers to entry as to who could execute these contracts. And as a sector as a whole, from the very beginning, we were very clear on the fact that there needs to be some sort of qualification process, a real qualification process to make sure that companies executing these works, which were funded through government money, need to be qualified construction firms.
Yeah, and let me qualify that. I know it was Mr. Conte's government as well, and then Mr. Draghi inherited, but I think, as you quite rightly say, people think perhaps the largesse lasted too long without, as you mentioned, those checks and balances. Look, I've had the privilege to come to your country many times a year over many years as well. And this year I've been from Chernobyl down to Bari just for the G7. What's going on now? Because it's been a relatively strong performance for Italy, something that welcomes many of us, we welcome, over the last couple of years compared with Northern Europe as well. But the problems that are surmounting now, that need to be surmounted, are they being dealt with capably by the government?
I mean, the long-term effects obviously remain to be seen. The goal today is to surpass the bad habits that Italy had in the past of dealing with everything in an emergency fashion, so kind of running to extinguish one fire and then the next and then the next. And what we ask our government is for a long-term industrial plan for our sector, which is one of the main drivers of our economy, and so for the country as a whole. The PNRR plan was another big driver for recovery in Italy and in Europe. And that is kind of on track to carry us into 2026, mid-2026, when in the current configuration, all of the projects need to be delivered. And then the next big kind of horizon is the European Green Buildings Directive, the EPBD. And we think as a sector that this can be our industrial plan from here to 2050. From here to 2050. It's a great opportunity to build a European strategy around energy efficiency, learning from the lessons of the past. So learning from the mistakes that were made, but also learning from the best practices that emerged from the super bonus that you just mentioned, and also allowing for long-term planning, which is something that we have always lacked as a country.